I just was thinking, I've been thinking this since last night, really, but I was watching some videos about AuDHD and ADHD and hyperfixation and just all that kind of goes along with AuDHD and ADHD and autism together, separate or together, and there was one woman who she studies I think it was like relationship, was it? I can't remember. She just studied something regarding specifically autism in women. I think it was supposed to be, I can't remember. My brain's blanking. But I only watched a little bit of it because it was kind of late and I was trying to get to bed. But she talked about how, a lot of women who aren't diagnosed, all of our experiences are pretty rough, but there's no real explanation why people treat you certain ways, and and when you just don't know, you don't know. I mean, I remember as a kid, this boy, he, they said that my friends said, because I didn't have a nickname at that point with them anyways, and they said that they would call me Ed because my first initial was E and my middle initial was D at the time. And so I also had Essie and previously, and Kitty as my nickname when I was a baby, I guess. But there was one boy who said, yeah, special ed, and was joking because I was different, and I really hadn't up until that point really thought that anybody, I noticed, I guess, difference, but I never thought that anybody looked at me differently than the rest of the group. And I think that was the first time it really hit me. I was always quiet, and I didn't learn until I was older that what I was experiencing was selective mutism. I was always quiet, always struggled with my my memory, and I thought, growing up or as a young adult, when I was 21, I realized that I was likely twice gifted, which means that you have abilities, but you also have learning disabilities that kind of go along with that. Because I could play piano by ear, and apparently had other things that I just didn't know at the time either. But I kind of filed that away, and I didn't really. That wasn't really at the forefront of my mind though throughout my young adult or adult years, and I don't know, little by little, there was actually, I had a caregiver, or not a caregiver, I'm sorry, a client. She was one of my first clients when when I was in college. I took a caregiving job, and she recognized that I was different, and she gave me this book about basically autism. It was like more like a children's book kind of thing, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure why she's giving this to me, because I didn't know, and I don't know. There's so many things that I do naturally I didn't know I was doing, like not maintaining eye contact for one. I had a therapist a few years ago, kind of like, well, she didn't end up becoming my therapist, but she kind of like scolded me for not maintaining eye contact. And I realized like I had to kind of look away in order for me to kind of retrieve historical like memories, and like, I don't know, my brain, when I was telling her, trying to answer her question, I go into historical kind of data and be kind of viewing it. And when I was looking at her, if it's really hard for me, because when I look at a person, I not only feel their energy, but I also pick up on all their micro like expressions and things, and so like I know when they might be feeling a certain way about me, and it's really hard to kind of shovel that to one side. Like I know when you're like judging me kind of thing, like it's I've learned to kind of mask that and try to like push that to the side, and still, and I try to think, well, there's times when I have prejudged somebody, and have had these kind of biases, that were unfair, but they were just kind of there kind of from my impression of a person or whatever, and so, and I recognized that as time moves on, sometimes your impression of that person kind of changes because you experience more of them or whatever, like they're like, you open yourself up more to understanding them and whatnot. Anyway, so I try to empathize with people who are misjudging me and who have biases against me. And I didn't recognize, for a long time, what my funny, like, little thinking back to it, because what my resting face looked like, and like what my face when I'm concentrating, or when I'm in a particular emotional state, like what it looks like, and how it's perceived. And I really didn't know until I started actually with YouTube, trying to do videos for YouTube, and I was like, is that really like my facial expression whenever I'm like feeling this way, or like explaining this or that or whatever. And I don't know. I can see how certain behaviors of mine that I just didn't know kind of were going on, expressions and lack of expressions and just, I don't know, certain behaviors, how they may have been like odd, seemed odd to another person, and how they may have like misjudged that. But like I literally thought that I was just behaving normal, and I was just normal. I was behaving normal just like everybody else, and my facial expressions and everything were normal just like everybody else. And that I was maintaining, like I didn't realize I wasn't maintaining eye contact. And then she had scolded me, and that really kind of jarred me. And then the next, I talked to another therapist, and she's like, I think I was talking to her for the second time or something, or maybe I was talking to a previous one, I'm not sure, but I was talking to someone else, and they're like, yeah, I did notice that you do that. And she's like, yeah, you do that quite a bit. Like you do seem to like struggle with that or something. Like I don't know. She didn't say struggle, but she said that she had noticed it, and I was wondering, like in that moment, like how many other people in the world have noticed it, and like nobody had ever brought it up to me before. Nobody had ever, cited it as an issue, or I always thought I maintained really good eye contact for the most part. Like I didn't ever really think anything of me kind of looking away while I'm deep thinking and when I'm, retrieving historical data. But yeah, so there's been little things that, kind of added up along the way. I don't know, I think I was always having a really hard time relating to like my peers. But I think that's twofold too, because I was first of all, I was like I am a highly sensitive person, very empathetic, because apparently I didn't know this, but like that this was part of being autistic, but apparently our community, neurodivergencies, like we have a great sense of like justice, and like a greater sense of justice, I guess you could say. I don't know. And so when I was a child, I knew, right from wrong, and also that wrong was a sin, and I took it quite literally, as my parents kind of taught, that literally if you sin, you're going to hell. And literally you're sinning against God and Jesus. And so I was a very honest child. Like I always tried to tell the absolute truth, always tried to do the absolute right thing. And I don't know, I just had a hard time because my peers were, they are going through these developmental stages where they, are acting out. They're doing naughty things and they're wanting you to participate in certain things. And I just didn't have that rebellious kind of streak in me. Like I just needed to it's very black and white, and I really needed to do the right thing all the time. If I messed up with something, like it would devastate me, like, and I'd have like shame attacks and like so much guilt. And I don't know, I think, I mean, I don't know, I was just different. And as we grew older, I was harder to relate to my peers, because my peers were, going through their developmental things where they were, doing things, and I was the Puritan of the bunch, and I was like, you shouldn't do that. Like, that's not. And I was the one that you'd have to kind of watch out for. Like, they'd have to ask me not to like tell or whatever. Anyways, it was I was the goody two-shoe. Tushy? I think Tushy. I'm trying to say it. Yeah. For the most part. And and when I got into my teens, I was still very good, but I did have a boyfriend that that kind of helped me a lot. And I didn't mean to, but that was one rebellious thing, I guess. But I didn't mean, like, I don't know, she seemed to have lost interest in him, but like my friend had been into him. And but then he seemed like he was, like, once he met me and stuff, and I don't know, we hit it off, and then we both had interest in each other, and she apparently still had interest in him, and I was a horrible person when it came to communication, and I still struggle, but I didn't communicate with her about it, and it was just like something that we just kind of rolled into, like, oh yeah, now we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And it was just like a huge kind of shock, I think. And so that was like one of the like not kind things that I did. But that aside, like, he was more rebellious. And I kind of liked it. I kind of liked that he was rebellious, to be honest. He would hide that he cursed. Because I would, like, behave like I was, like, I was a little high-strung or whatever. Like, not high-strung, but, like, I don't know, commanding. I don't know if that's the right thing, but he knew he wasn't supposed to curse around me, or that I didn't believe in cursing or whatever. It was more like a religious and familial kind of rule, something that, we grew up being punished for, like if we said the wrong word, or the wrong expression. So, but I knew that he cursed, with his friends and stuff, and I remember my sister and her boyfriend coming to me and saying, talking about how he's two-faced, how he's like, he curses like a sailor behind my back and whatever. And, I think they expected me to think, whatever, but it really did not matter to me, because I just, I really love that. Did I say that little? Yeah, I totally had a thing for him. Yeah. Anyways, he took me on my first real date. And I think it's still probably my only real date, because I've had a brunch and a lunch, but I've never had a dinner. Like, he took me to a dinner at a family, one of his families, usual family restaurant, this beautiful Mexican restaurant, and he sat next to me, and then he showed me how to eat this particular dish properly, and it just was super charming and romantic, and he was always just so gentle and kind and loving, and I think my sister and her boyfriend and the others, they saw a different part of him, because I think he was very more introverted, but in order to try to fit in, he would had this other part of him, and I'm not sure whether or not that was I just feel like it was masking, almost, that he was trying to force things sometimes, and trying to be hyper masculine or tough or whatever, just to be accepted. But when he was with me and his guard was down, he was just sensitive and kind and good and compassionate and just a beautiful person. And so until I pissed him off after we broke up, kind of thing, then that other side of him, I think, ramped up. And he was a teenager, but at the same time, it was not a fun experience. But anyways, what I'm saying is I was told that I wasn't allowed to date, that we were courting, and that I wasn't allowed to go on any real dates or anything like that. But he stuck me out. And when my parents we went to this wedding, and my parents wouldn't let me they wouldn't let me dance, because it was a sin. And I just sat all night watching other people dance, and my heart, I just really wanted to be able to dance. And I just remember emotional, because it's just so beautiful, the kind of heart and a love young love, I guess, that we had when you think back about it. But we ended up, I ended up telling him about the experience, and he said, "That's bullshit." He got upset, and he taught me how to do this Mexican dance, and he danced with me basically on and off all through the night. And he was, getting himself in trouble, too. He was rebelling against his father, he was rebelling against mine, just to love me, and to make me feel loved. And nobody's ever it's hard to think about, but a 17-year-old, I think he was 17 at the time, he did better than all the grown men since I was, I think, was he 17? I think he was 17, and I think I was, because he was driving. I can't remember. Maybe I was 15, and he was 16. Could have been 15, or he could have been 17. I think maybe he was, because he was in high school. I think. I don't know. I remember him. He was wicked smart too. He had he was doing calculus or college classes in high school or whatever. But I just remember that we were just young, it was very young love. And then but he treated me better than all the men, all the grown men with jobs, who have resources, grown men who have, the ability to do anything that their mind could dream of in regards to romance and passion, and they could do. Yet they were so, I guess, limited, in their capacity to be, I guess, maybe it's emotional availability, or I don't know, the ability to love, or to dare to love, or to dare to be passionate, or to dare to invest in another person or something. I don't know, but this boy was he was so romantic. It was, yeah. It wasn't always so romantic. It was and there were times that I think I weirded him out. And I was going through so much at that young age, and just bless both of our young hearts, because I was struggling so much with so much, and just being a young boy who falls in love with a girl who's struggling that much, and then who is having to fight his own father just to be with me, because his father wasn't comfortable with my family, or family's religion, which is and maybe he wasn't comfortable with me, I'm not sure, but he wanted him to break up with me, and we ended up breaking up. But but I stayed in love with him for a long time. And just like poached egg guy, etc., every time I have had that dish, or every time I have Mexican food, I think of that date. So for me, sensory things and experiences and tastes and flavors, etc., they trigger memory. And like the feel of a fabric or whatever, because of the way my brain works, like I will flash back to those memories, and it's like I'm reliving them like in a movie, and kind of experiencing them. I can remember the way that something felt, and it's like I'm feeling it, and smelt. And so, anyways, there's a name for that, but I can't remember sometimes what the name was. But anyways, he was rebellious and taught me to be, I guess his loving me the way that he did kind of taught me to be a little bit rebellious about loving myself, in ways that I deserve to be loved, to give myself things that I deserve to have, I guess, and to respect myself, in the ways that I should respect myself, despite, like, other people's opinions. Like, he was just such, like, kind of a trailblazer kind of guy, too. Like, he was fearless, like, even as a teenager, like, with, I remember him, he had so many different, like, things going on. Like, he was, like, training horses and whatever, and, like, trying to build businesses even as a teenager, like, and I was also kind of like-minded. I think that's probably why we, like, kind of, we were a good match, but, life goes on, but his loving me that way, I think, helped me so much, and so, and though, what we experienced after the breakup was not so nice, and his behavior towards me, and about me, I guess, after the fact, and his opinion about me, apparently, after the fact, wasn't so good. He still taught me so much, and I'm so grateful, for the experience of loving him and being loved by him, because, if no man ever loves me again, the correct way, like, I just know that, if it weren't for him, I would have never, I would be this old, 37, right? I think, and still not ever have been actually loved, like, like, rebellious loved, like, and romantic loved, like, I don't know, like, we would sneak out, meet up. I remember, I think it was Christmas morning, and I had these, it was back when, like, Victoria's Secret had these a clothing line, and my sister had this, it was a hand-me-down, but, like, it went from, like, sister to sister, and then finally to me. They were these, like, white and blue pajamas, and, like, these beautiful rose, blue roses, and I remember just being so excited to go see him. I didn't even put on shoes. Like, I woke up and I just started running out in my pajamas. It was dawn. The sun wasn't even up all the way. The ground was still cool. This was in Arizona, so the ground was still cool, and I ran to him and threw myself in his arms, and like the sun was like coming up and warming, our skin, and it was just like, just romantic. It's one of my, like, I think, favorite, like, romantic memories, and because and just thinking back to that feeling of being held and loved, and like there was no question, that he didn't love me. Like, it was it, but so yeah, it was beautiful, and magical, but yeah, I just went on. That's what happens sometimes when I start thinking of a memory, because my brain goes into movie mode where I start seeing that footage and it sweeps me away a little bit. But anyways, he taught me how to rebel a little bit, and thank God, because I really needed to be able to stand up for myself and to be able to kind of develop my own voice, and to be able to say no and to remove myself. And if I hadn't, I don't know, if I hadn't dated him, and if I hadn't seen him rebel against his parents, and if he hadn't helped me rebel against my family, like, maybe I would have never had the courage to rebel, and like I would have been stuck forever in a horrible, toxic system where I would have been abused, and I would have never been learned, what's wrong with me. Like, I would have so much horrible things I don't even want to even think about, but it didn't happen, because one teenager, one young man, had the heart, was raised by a loving mother. She was so sweet and loving. And father, I'm sure he was as well, but he was also Protestant. But he taught me. He taught me a lot, and I will always be grateful to him for that. Yeah, but along the way, I have, and thank goodness for YouTube, because I would have never put the pieces together all by myself. Like, I recognized that I did some things, like people would point certain things out or whatever, and I just didn't see it. And I'm not like formally diagnosed or anything, but when I watch a video about it, like the hyperfocus thing, hyperfixation thing, I didn't know what was kind of going on with me. Like, and I knew that sometimes, like, I remembered that I was twice gifted or whatever, and so I thought maybe it was just the gifted part of me, like that's getting, I had watched that show, Scorpion, and I knew some of the geniuses there, they would get stuck in hyperfocus, and I recognized that sometimes when I sit down at the computer, I would sit down at a particular time, And then I'd look up and